Well, if you want that Harbinger title, it's time to solo the dungeon. So let's get it. Overall, I would say a Warlock is probably going to be the easiest to do a solo or solo flawless with, due to their healing rift and multiple subclass options with healing, like Devour or Well of Radiance. Even Stormcaller has some very light healing effects. I think it's a tough call between Hunter and Titan. Hunter has invisibility pretty often, but Titan has some slight healing potential with Top Tree Sentinel. You should mod your gear as best as you can. Minor enemy resistance, void and solar resistance too, and recovery will be your friend. In terms of loadouts, obviously if you have access to stuff like Mountaintop, the Recluse, Izanagi's Burden, Anarchy, you should probably bring that stuff along. For the purposes of this video though, I will not be using any exotics at all, including armor. I will not use seasonal artifacts like Season 8's Oppressive Darkness, and I will not use pinnacle or ritual weapons like the Recluse or 21% Delirium. The loadout that I used for this entire video was Tranquility, Premonition, and Hammerhead, swapping to a bow halfway through, and then switching to Swarm of the Raven for the final boss, which is a grenade launcher. Premonition drops from the dungeon, but you could use any similar pulse rifle in its place, for example, like the right side of wrong. Alright, first encounter. I imagine this is going to be the easiest one for most people, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but there are still a couple of notes. In terms of class performance, there is nothing in particular that a certain class really did better than the others, so just use your kit as needed. I used Top Tree Sentinel for Titan, Bottom Tree Nova for Warlock, and Top Tree Night Stalker for Hunter. The number one thing that will kill you here is hubris. Speed is your enemy. You do not need to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Find a safe place to deal damage. Don't be afraid to use your power weapon either, since you're not actually doing any boss damage here. Just take it slow. I like to go from top to bottom in terms of the locations that I need to go to so that I don't need to use the elevators. I think the problem I was having with the elevators and me dying on them was the presence of a sword. So if you are planning to use the elevators, do not hold a sword and do not put a sword on the elevator itself, or just avoid the elevators. When fighting the 3 disciples, you need to progress. Again, take it slow. Use block to avoid the knight's attacks. Kill the ogres in the Shrieker room. Kill the extra wizards in the wizard room. You don't get bonus points for speed. The second thing that will kill you is an ogre. Ogres are scattered everywhere, and each marked entrance building thing has at least one ogre patrolling nearby. The marked entrances towards the middle of the area have 2 ogres. So dropping down onto one of these areas from above and going straight into the acolytes and knight that are there will likely result in you being beamed to death by an ogre. Instead, try to shoot the ogres from an upper level before dropping down so that you're not killed in this way. However, sometimes they hide in tough to see spots. In that case, drop down farther away and find a better angle. The third thing that will kill you here is not the accursed sword bearer, but rather the adds that sometimes spawn with it. Whenever you spawn a sword bearer, sometimes the game throws some more enemies at you, namely 1 or 2 knights and some acolytes. And they hurt pretty badly, so just be aware of your surroundings. After killing your final disciple, all you need to do is kill the pit keeper at the bottom and walk near the doorway to trigger the end of the encounter. So if you can snipe the pit keeper from far away, do that and then just get sort of close to the door. The door will not break down right away though, and there will be a bunch of acolytes spawning in, so don't get baited by that. Next is the door opening encounter with the ogres, but PC players should be aware of a bug that will instantly kill you upon hitting the loading zone that introduces the pit area. You literally will just hit a loading zone and most of the time you die. Turning my resolution to 1920 by 1080 and changing my FPS to 30 made it so I did not die when walking through this loading zone, most of the time anyway. I have heard that even if you die to this, you will still get the flawless achievement if you don't have any other deaths, but I personally have not tested it. Of course, you can turn the frames back to normal after this load zone. I don't think there's any reason that you shouldn't try this little trick before continuing. The path I use limits your outside time. Here is a map of the area and the path that we are going to take. We take this path to stay as close to the doors as possible to minimize running out in the open. The number one thing that will kill you is obviously the ogres. If an ogre is hanging out right next to an exit, just be patient because eventually they will go away. You just need to make sure they go away in the direction that you need them to go away in, so just look at their feet or just look at your radar. Most of the time, they will do that exactly. This is all you need to do, just wait. If for any reason you need to get close to an ogre, 9 out of 10 times they will launch you into a wall and kill you. If you are close to a hole in the wall and the ogre goes to slam, it will probably kill you. You need to jump and melee the ogre at the same time the ogre does the ground slam attack so that you don't get flung across the room. You'll still be in a not very good spot and you might die to an ogre eye beam, but at least you won't die to getting flung into a wall. The number 2 thing that will kill you here is being overwhelmed by ads when entering a side cave. Again, burn that ammo. You're not fighting a boss just yet. There is zero reason to be conservative with ammo unless you happen to be really low from the previous encounter, which I don't think will be an issue. Thrall are easy to kill, but this place is a somewhat high power level environment, and there are areas where a lot of Thrall spawn, so getting overwhelmed is a possibility. Do not take it lightly. The Heretical Knight also hurts pretty bad. I would not get close at all if you can help it. Alright, so you've opened the doors and have reached what is arguably the most difficult encounter, the Totem. Each class definitely has their advantages here, which we will discuss. The main strategy for this encounter is to run back and forth. A lot. The whole time. I use a Rampage bow for this encounter. Le Monarch also works if you have that. It seems stupid, but killing acolytes in one headshot is really, really handy as opposed to the continuous shooting required from a pulse rifle and not being able to one burst them and all that. The guaranteed kill is valuable, especially because of how often acolytes will hide from you. You're going to start the encounter with 6 acolytes in front of you. Kill them quickly, do not let them spread out. Then you'll have acolytes left, middle, and right when you stand on the plate and turn around. Ideally, you want most, if not all of them dead before taking out the Heretical Knight. If you have no acolytes up and you killed them quickly, I say go for the Knight and get that Void Orb. If it took you a little while to kill the acolytes, you may want to wait for the next spawn wave because dunking the orb spawns Thrall and Knights, and you don't want acolytes at the same time, although you will inevitably spawn acolytes during this time anyway. If you fall behind on killing, grab that machine gun. Those grenades from the acolytes will hurt too. Keep moving. So, you're dunking your first orb, we have minimal acolytes up, dunk it. You're now going to get a wave of Thrall from the middle and 2 Knights up top on ledges, one on the left and one on the right. I think Knights take priority, but realistically this will devolve into kill whatever is killing me at this very moment. This might be Thrall that are chasing you down. That might be a wave of acolytes that just spawned in. That may be the Knights. If you can get the Knights down quickly before anything else starts to mess with you, do it. This part of the encounter is just going to be a cluster of running back and forth to make sure the totem doesn't explode while killing ads and avoiding death. The Thrall will stockpile themselves behind the 2 pillars to your left and right, while others will just rush you head on. Going back and forth will aggro them for you to kill. The post-dunk goal is to get to a place where the area is in somewhat of a controlled state. All the Thrall are gone, acolytes are minimal. You don't have forever because of the curse, but you don't have to rush. By now, more of the Knights will have spawned. Probably the left and right are shooting you. It's not great. Get them both low and finish killing acolytes. When you're in a comfortable spot, kill 1 Knight, grab the orb, and drop it on the plate. Kill the other Knight, grab the orb, and drop it on the plate. Kill a few more acolyte while juggling the orbs. They will disappear if not picked up for a short time, but you can juggle them indefinitely. Just make sure you're actually picking up each one and not the same one over and over. Then, dunk both when you're comfortable. Dunking both will not actually spawn double ads as long as the dunks are back to back. If you dunk one and then wait 10 to 15 seconds for the next one, you'll likely get another wave, which is very bad. You'll repeat this process until you get 6 orbs dunked. It is manic the entire time. It barely slows down. Do not expect it to do so. I do a 1-2-1-2 strategy with this particular loadout. If you're using more advanced loadouts like Izanagi's Burden or other stuff in general, you may be able to do a 1-2-3 strategy. You might be able to just stockpile all 6 if you go fast enough. I don't know. Also, something to remember. The encounter ends about 5 seconds after that 6th orb is dunked. When you dunk, keep moving as ads will still be shooting you and you don't want to die after you finish the encounter. The number one thing that will kill you here is not moving. You need to almost always be moving. You cannot dwell on a target for too long or you will absolutely die, especially the knights. Keep moving. Each class has a benefit in this fight. Titans. If you're on top tree, your melee kills will heal you, and active cooldown melees give you an overshield. That means that punching Thrall isn't a terrible idea if they start to stack up on you, although any damage after a kill will negate the healing. You also get Ward of Dawn, which will enable us to perform a potential 1-2-3 Void Orb strategy where you just let the ward do all of the blocking for you. Ward of Dawn is also a get out of jail mostly free card. You'll have it 2, maybe 3 times in this fight if you're going slowly. Towering Barricade is a slightly helpful tool, but Acolyte Grenades will still mess with you anyway. Otherwise, if you have nothing to melee kill, you are basically in danger the entire time. Warlocks, you get Devour and Healing Rift. Devour makes it so every single kill heals you as long as the buff is active. It doesn't matter what kind of kill either. Therefore, this is really good. Healing Rift is also good as a backup, but don't think that just because you're in a Healing Rift that you are invincible. It's good as a very short-term heal, but then you really should get back to moving back and forth. Don't bait yourself by standing in it for too long. Nova Bomb is good for a one-time, this needs to die right now button. Hunters, you get invisibility. Now, it's not healing, no, but it's pretty close to it as long as you spec for some high recovery. And you do get it pretty frequently. I was also spec'd for class ability cooldown in this video, as much as I could. This was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Tether is also great for shutting down a big chunk of Thrall when they first spawn after a dunk. Just needs to be used proactively, and you'll likely be able to use it twice in the fight if you use it early. Otherwise, if you don't have invisibility up, you are in danger until the cooldown returns. Here is a 1-2 cycle of the fight being done on a hunter. Now, you finish that encounter, we have the big drop. This is a game of timing. You do not need to go all the way down in one shot if you do not want to, but take your time planning this jump. Next, we're moving on to unlock the door by killing the wizards part. This part is pretty self-explanatory. You can swap to a solar weapon for easier shield removal if you want to. Otherwise, this is a game of don't miss your jumps. The ads can also kill you. There's no reason to play risky here. Included in the description is a map of this area. It's not a good one, but it's a map. Finally, we'll tackle Zulmak. His name is Zulmak, right? Finally, we'll tackle Zulmak. This fight is actually pretty simple compared to the totems, although it is significantly longer. A 5-cycle of this boss will take over 20 minutes, depending on your speed. The strategy I used was the following. Grab a sword as soon as possible and head to the knight first, using the projectile attack and the regular sword attacks to kill the acolytes. Kill the knight, and we leave the orb there. Head to the shrieker next, killing it, using the remainder of the sword to kill all of the acolytes. Leave this orb. I grab a new sword from a new sword bearer and head over to the wizard, slowly killing it and the acolytes while playing as safe as possible. The wizard dies, we're grabbing this orb and going to the knight's orb deposit location if the boss is standing right next to the wizard deposit. We really don't want to deposit right next to the boss. The rest of the orbs will respawn after dunking this first orb. So I go to the knight's plate to grab that orb and dunk it in the shrieker slot. Then I clear out any remaining acolytes and thrall in the center area and get the sword bearer knight to one shot. I grab the final orb that I need, get close to the final dunk spot, kill the sword bearer, dunk, and immediately run away to avoid the boss's fire slam AoE attack. This is why I don't dunk in the spot closest to the boss. Then, I pour as much damage into the boss as humanly possible. You will have 6 cursed thralls spawn in after a brief time, 2 from each side. You should probably get rid of these for absolute safety and then resume damage on the boss. The boss will start to charge his everything in the circle dies attack, for which you should leave the center circle. Then you'll repeat this probably about 4 or 5 more times until the boss dies. Honestly, I think the number one thing that'll kill you here, besides hubris and trying to go faster than you should be going, is the boss's fire damage AoE attack. If you get caught by this in the wrong spot, you are basically dead. It hurts really bad, and only if you're on the edge of it will you be able to get out. Then, Cursed Thrall here are second place. Do not let them sneak up on you. Kill all 6 of them. Do not take chances, especially with a fight that will last you over 20 minutes. Otherwise, I guess maybe the wizard is the next lethal target just because it hurts really badly, although each of the other targets hurt in their own way. Not clearing all of the acolytes is definitely going to be a killer too. Again, I don't think this fight is particularly hard. There's nothing incredibly demanding about the fight itself. It's just a very long fight, and all it takes is one mistake to send you back to the start. Patience, patience, patience. Have a lot of patience. Here's a full cycle of the fight to close out this video. Thank you for watching, and good luck. Oh, he's blocking now. Probably should have just stuck with killing that knight. Oh, that's dead. Okay, need a new sword. I get the kill. Should really kill some of these acolytes with sniper ammo to try to get some power ammo. Just would suck to have no power ammo going into the final phase, potentially final phase. Last one. Okay. Yeah, no power ammo. Feels bad. Alright, Knight, I really need you to not be here. God, just like one brick of power would be sick here. Okay, not trying to play that game. Just one brick. Just one brick. One little brick. One little brick of brew. Brickadowski. Oh, there was... Yes. It's better than nothing. Okay. Boss, please come over here. Knight, I just want to weaken you. Please, sir. Just die. Clap.
You did it!
Hooray!
I was very stressed. I couldn't.
I was also very stressed.
Yes.